there, I'm Creator Toast, and today I decided that I would be redesigning Hazbin Hotel characters. I wanted to do this because I've seen a lot of people drawing the characters in their style, and I wanted to take it a bit further than that. So I thought, what if I just designed them as if I were on the show? And so that's what I did, and I hope you enjoy. On screen, I will be showing the drawing I used as reference to draw Charlie and to get my colors from. So let's get into it. So I wanted to start off with the main character of the show, Charlie. On screen right now, you'll see me just thumbnailing different ideas I had, different hairstyles, chin types, ears, like just things I had in mind while designing her character. I ended up going with the first one because I felt like that was the most similar to the Charlie in the show. Not necessarily character design, but personality wise. So, first things first, I feel like out of the main cast, her character design is just the weakest. Yes, she does look good on her own, don't get me wrong, but putting her next to characters like Angel Dust and Alistair, I feel like she kind of blends into the background more in comparison. So I wanted to see if I could change that. First off, I decided to make her more goat like. As shown in my thumbnail, she has goat ears instead of. Well, I guess she doesn't even have ears, so I guess instead of no ears. And she does have hooves. It has been confirmed by VisiPop that she does have hooves, though is not a goat. But I decided to change that for the sake of her character design. And I also wanted to reference the deity Baphomet, who often gets mistaken for Satan, funnily enough. For those of you who haven't seen him before, I will show a photo on the screen right now. But Baphomet has the head of a goat and the body of a man, which I think would be very fitting for Charlie, having like the goat ears and like the nose and like the horns, but not really much else compared to the rest of her body. So here I'm just drawing the face. I wanted to keep a lot of her face the same as it is in the show. More specifically, the eyes. I love Charlie's eyes. They're very big, they're very expressive, and I just love them a lot. I did keep her cheek blush because I thought that was really cute. The main difference to the face would be her eyebrows, and I gave her a more animalistic nose, and I changed up her mouth a bit as well, and I gave her some lips because she deserves them, honestly. Give Charlie some lips, please. She deserves them. Here, I'm redesigning her clothes. I wanted her clothes to have a hotel uniform vibe to them, as she is running a hotel and wants the hotel to be taken seriously. She definitely wouldn't force the other characters to wear a uniform, but definitely would be ecstatic if one of the hotel staff showed interest in wearing one. So let's talk about Charlie's hair, because I feel like that is the main thing that I changed in this piece compared to her original design in the show. So, realistically, having as much hair as she does, it wouldn't be fun to put it in the bubble braids that she has, which I'm not sure if that's the correct hairstyle, but I'm at least that's very similar. So, sorry if that's not completely correct. But sometimes I do wonder how she gets her hair back in the braid after she goes full on demon mode. So I'm like, is it just magic or is it something else? But anyway, getting back on track, I decided to make her demon mode hair more like fire because I feel like that would suit like being Princess of Hell more, because like Hell is often depicted with flames and fire and like all of that. So I thought that would be very cool. And I would think that like she would end up burning the hair tie that she has in the braid that I drew her in and would have to rebraid her hair every time she did that, which I think would be a very funny, silly thing to do. But I drew her normal hair in a braid because I feel like that would be much easier to do than a bubble braid. I am not a hairstylist, so please don't quote me on that, but I personally think like the braid would be more protective of her hair and would keep it like nicer and not as tangled. I'd like to think my rendering process is pretty simple. I don't use lines. That's not really something I do often. I usually just get the base color of whatever I'm drawing, whether that's the skin or the color of the braid or her clothes, and I like to block out the area that I'm coloring in. I then usually put my sketch layers over top of my colors so I can see where I'm supposed to have my wrinkles and I can shade accordingly. For the most part, when I shade, I like to have one side of the shading soft and the other part hard. So you'll see on the drawing where I've shaded, a lot of the pieces have one side soft and the other side hard. This makes the shading look nicer in my opinion. It gives it a clean cut. So on our clothes, let's say where her wrinkles are around her waist, one side of that is just the plain line and the other side is shaded out. It makes it look like the shading is darker where the fabric wrinkles the most and lightens up as it gets farther down. And I think it gives it a really clean look and it looks really nice in a lot of art styles. So I don't really have any more to say about the drawing, so I want to get into personality. I feel like Charlie doesn't really have a lot of character flaws. She has very little to none of them. So what I would do personally is I would make her a bit more snippy and quick to anger than she is in the show. So like for example, if Angel Dust were to insult something that she was doing, she would have a very quick comeback and be like, "You can either play along or you can be outside during the next extermination." Her mindset is, I am trying to save you, and you all are making fun of me, and I will not have it. So she is very, very quick to like be snippy at someone. Of course, she feels bad about it later and does come back to apologize, but her mindset is, if you're not going to play along and try to get redeemed, why are you here? I also feel like her being more quick to anger could lead to interesting character development and could also lead to whole episodes where something she said out of anger did get them in trouble and led to them having to fix an issue that happened. And there's the finished Charlie. I love how this turned out. I think she looks very cute, and I feel like if you look at her and you look at her design in the show, you can still tell who was supposed to be. I think that's a win in my book. But what do you think? I'd like to know down in the comments. Do you think I could have done anything better? Or do you think it's an improvement? I'd like to know. Now let's move on to my favorite character of Hazbin Hotel. My favorite character is actually Husk, and I don't see a lot of people having him as a favorite. But if I'm gonna be honest, I think it might be because he's not as simpleable as characters like Lucifer or Alistair, which I think is really funny, honestly. Husk is actually tied for first as my favorite character. My other favorite is Nifty, which I will probably do a redesign of later if anybody would be interested in seeing that. So let's get into it. Reference number 2. So I'm doing the same thing for Husk. On screen, the drawing that I used to reference him will be right there, and I got all my colors from him as well. So while I was drawing Husk, I quickly figured out that it was much more difficult for me to redesign him. It's either because his character design is already very well fleshed out, or I just liked it too much, and so it was much more difficult for me to improve upon something I already liked. But even so, there were still things that I changed, and I want to get into those. So, one of the major differences between my design and the original design is the fact that I got rid of Husk's wings. Now, I'm not exactly sure why Husk has wings, because Husk is a cat, and I don't know if you've seen a cat recently, but they typically don't have wings. So I'm not really sure if it's a rule of cool thing or if he needs them for some reason, but I am not personally aware of the reasoning, so I decided to get rid of them. I didn't want to completely get rid of them because, at least to me, doing that would be like a huge FU to an artist if you were to redesign their character and just get rid of something of theirs completely because you didn't like it or you didn't understand. So you can see on the speed paint, I was trying to add wings to the top hat at one point, and in the end, I decided to put a pin in the shape of wings on his suspenders. Another thing I struggled with was his fucking top hat. Oh my god, I could not with his top hat. It was so difficult to try and get the placement on it until I had the genius idea of just draw one ear down, idiot. And so that's what I did. All jokes aside, his original design has a lot of hearts in it, and it has what looks like poker chips on his wings. But for other like suits or other references to gambling, there's not a lot. And when bringing this up to a friend, they did point out the fact that he did have other suits on his pilot design, which they might have gotten rid of for ease of animation, which I'd like to agree with, but have you seen all the characters in the show? There's no ease of animation anywhere. So, whether they got rid of it for that reason or if it was just an afterthought is a different thing. But I decided to add a diamond on his top hat, a little spade on the wing pin that I'd mentioned earlier. I gave him a clover choker, and I just left the hearts as is. You might have also noticed that I gave him a shirt. Husk in the show doesn't wear one, which doesn't really matter too much. I just felt that I could add more to his character by giving him the shirt that I did. I gave him a button-up shirt that is loose over one shoulder and just kind of looks saggy on him. I wanted a specific vibe when someone looks at my design of Husk. I kind of wanted the middle-aged 5 o'clock shadow alcoholic look. I really wanted to push that look because I felt like it wasn't pushed enough in the show, especially with how much alcohol Husk is shown drinking. Right now, I am finishing the rendering on his shirt and just making it look extra saggy because that was the look I was going for. Besides the fact I did make him digitigrade, I don't think there are any huge changes I made besides making his pants short. And that's really it when it comes to things I've changed. There wasn't really a lot that I changed about his design, but it is obvious that it is the same character, again, like with Charlie. So you might be wondering why I haven't rendered the two sketches on the side of the middle drawing, and that's because I just like how my sketches look. I really enjoy sketching. It's a fun process for me, and I like looking at my sketches. In case you were wondering what brush I use to sketch, I use the medium airbrush in Procreate. As for coloring and blending, I downloaded a brush off the internet and used that. However, I did edit it a bit, so it won't be the exact same if you were to download it. I will link the brush pack in the description. It is completely free. However, you can choose to pay for the brushes if you wish to support the artist. And there is the finished Husk. This one, I personally do like the sketch originally better than the rendering, but I worked really hard on the rendering on this one, so I still think that it looks really good. I do like my sketches a lot. I think the one on the right kind of looks like a. Mm, but that's really it when it comes to Husk's redesign. If you've watched the show, you will get the reference of what the cheapy one is saying. I thought it was a little funny thing to put in. Thank you all so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video. And if at any time I sounded weird at all, I apologize. The microphone was being a butthead. But hey, I'll probably figure it out eventually. But yeah, I had a lot of fun making this, and I want to make more. So look forward to more videos coming out. Goodbye!